Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and people of everywhere around the world to hear this video and hear it and see it. This is Dave Emmons and A Strange Reality. Come to you about twice a week. I've been posting some other things in Facebook and other platforms, just trying to mix it up a little bit. But I might be involved in some sort of a teaching fashion before long with some large organization. I don't want to talk about that now, except we're in the talks and we're in the beginnings of it. And but they sound like a great group of scientists and great people. So I want to get the word out. I want to enlighten people. That's what I'm doing on my podcast and on my books. And I'm trying to start writing a fifth book, but my gosh, just like I was talking to my guest here, Elsa, we're talking about life and family lines and stuff. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit. But you get so busy in your own life and your routine of when you get older. Of course, you have more doctor appointments. When you're younger, you don't. You just go out and drink and have parties and have fun. That's what life's all about. And we just talked about. I mentioned that Jesus Christ presented us this phase of our lives. You're born like he was born from angels and Mother Mary, and then you live or thrive. You have a choice. If you live, then you're not going to be really happy. If you thrive, then you're going to be happy. And that's the biggest part of when we're here, what we do and the kindness that we present to other people. And then you suffer. And he showed us that on the cross, when he suffered through the cross, and then you die, and then you're reborn. And so that's what he was trying to simply tell us. Those are the steps of life, of human life. And then I think Elsa's going to get into the family lines a little more and tell us why we are here on The Strange Reality with Dave Emmons. Elsa Dillon, she's been on the show a couple of times before. Last time was February 26th. She's a family of 10 experiencers living on a farm in Byron Bay Hills, Australia. Elsa, mom of 8 children, with husband Richard Dillon. Both Elsa and Richard, international famous photographers and videographers, shooting celebrities, magazines, and advertising behind the scenes of professionals for over 3 decades. Dillon's second incarnation here on Gaia, family over souls, called to together again in reincarnation in this realm. Experiences, beings, messages, oversoul, connections, and happenings with paranormal over 600 beings to date, and probably more than that because I know it doesn't stop. Elsa Dillon, welcome back to the show. Young lady, people usually like what you have to say, so this will be an interesting show, and thank you very much for coming on. What's going on with you now, Elsa? Is there something new going on? Has anything happened lately? I know it probably has.
Yeah, they've as we were talking pre-show, how it interacts with family, how it's very personal, all this, um, the experiences and the contact, and um, I've been questioning why does it have to be so personal? Like, because I want to have our private family life, but it's become so public, and the more public it has become, the more of a show that we have become, we've had ease and grace. Um, so it was a lot of letting go
Yeah.
because our profession was behind the scenes, so we were always, excuse me, projecting and beautifying others. So now we have had to collect all those skills um, and sort of spin them around and now use them as tools to get this information out. So it literally trains us to have a purpose for what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
That's
like a
yeah,
setup. And
that's
I know
very
you've
interesting.
talked about these
Yeah,
setups.
yeah. It's life is like that. It's like as you get older, the more that you have to live for a purpose and a goal.
Mm.
Like even when you're in a retirement age, like me, past that time, you have to have some goals. You got to set life plans. Like I said earlier, you have to thrive. And the more you
Mm.
thrive, the longer you will live. That's what I just read some scientific notes on that. They said that people that keep going mentally, keep going physically, either walking or some simple weightlifting or something helps a person out, especially when they get past 70 years of age. Every little thing helps you get longer and further along. And and you're talking about family lines. I want to get into that. What you're meaning by that, Elsa? Could you tell us about what you're thinking about in family lines?
So you um you gave us the words. So born, live, suffer, die. And so what is the purpose of life? And what is the purpose of the information I bring forth? And I'm going to use my family as an example because I understand us now. Uh, why does it why does it connect to Egypt? Why does the storyline and our family line integrate in the same sex and the same order? It's weird. Why does it have to be so ridiculous to society, this story? Why am I on showing it? So I'm showing this line, right? And this is what Neff, the other realm, presented to me last year was that uh, y- you need an icon. An icon is a thread. And you hear many people speak about these golden threads or alignments. And this thread is what's connecting us all. So I'm starting to understand our purpose here is we are literally markers of, it's not time, it's markers of the journey. So we come here and we mark and we tap into energies of maybe before or after, doesn't matter whether it's in future or present, but we tap in and we collect those threads and then like you sync them all together. And they knew this time was coming in humanity where we would understand this. And I describe it a lot like time is not time how we understand it. It's more like the golden compass and it's like golden threads and alignments just pinging together. And you spoke of suffering and delays and why we do things and what's our purpose and our roles. And it's waiting for other alignments to gather, and then they cross and they ping, and then it's like it opens up another porthole or time or version of us
Hmm.
with these alignments. And I really felt that they've done everything they could to stop these alignments in us. They've done it through many ways of suffering, finances, health, family, pets, religion, schooling, medical. But
We you're
like
saying,
I'm seeing in you,
yeah, yeah. You say,
we're doing it.
yeah. What do you mean they are stopping us? Who are they? Are they the elites, the underground cabal that's running this world? They're doing this to us, Elsa.
Well, when I use the word they, a lot of people think it's only one group. I'm going to say it's more than one. It's versions of
Mhm.
them as well.
Right.
And this is one thing that I've had to let go of is I like to put everything in its neat little boxes and go, that's that, that's this, that's that. But it doesn't work that way. So the best way I can describe things is the way you look up at the stars, and sometimes when you look up at the stars, you'll see a lot. And then you blink a few times, and then there'll be even more again. And then you look even deeper, and you can start to see multi layers of stars. That's how many versions of things there are. So instead of fixating and boxing everything like how humans like to do, which does make it very neat, I do it. what happens if you take the boxes away, then it's pure creation, I guess. And so where I'm coming from now with our purpose is I've taken the boxes away and it's like it could feel like chaos, it could feel like free fall. You have no boundaries, so you just keep floating through space sort of thing.
Hmm.
With this way of I guess I use it as a form of meditation now. I've been able to pick up alignments, not just here, but in other realms, in other people, in other beings, in our children, in people when we go shopping, people across the world, people in Zooms, people in interviews. I can pick up those lineages and go, there it is. There it is. And those there it is moments are alignments and they're the markers in us. And I mean, okay, for an example, you were speaking and then you said the word suffer. And I instantly got like an electric charge through my whole body. I went, there it is. There's a marker. Dave just gave me a huge marker. So everything about Dave right up until this minute has allowed me to be come and meet with Dave and go, there's the marker. So you just shifted an alignment in me
Okay.
by being free and open and kind enough to share those words with me. So it's a frequency thing. It's we come together like an arc, like this. We do it in our own bodies with our left and right foot, grounding. Animals do it with 4 feet on the ground, some of them. And we are kings. So we're arcing like a frequency charge, but we're also the term are kings. So we rule ourselves and you meet with others and you create like arc effects. It,
Mhm.
so Dave says something, then I arc from what you said, and then I carry it to the next spot of me. And you go on from, meeting me today, and whatever gifts you get from words I say, if you get some, you'll go and arc off in your way, and it just
Yeah,
creates
yeah,
these alignments everywhere. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like if you,
yeah. Words, I guess words would have frequencies to them also. Uh, Now the Tartarians were here for a short while, well, a long while in Europe,
yeah.
short while here in the States and around the world, building things. And they built things with frequencies, like bells. They said the big chapel bells that you hear, actually it wards off evil or negative energy. It dissipates negative energy. Those the frequencies of those bells, and I saw where 963 frequency,
Hmm.
963 frequency is supposed to be the Tesla. He said the magic number is 963. So somebody put it together and said, well, that's a frequency, 963, that actually is our life frequency. And that's why, like you said, we're jumping frequencies in here. He's saying 963. I don't know. That's one theory, but that's not been proven. I wanted to ask also, you saying,
Dave, I got to interrupt you.
sure, go ahead.
On the 3rd of June, which was Tuesday,
Uh-huh.
that was 369 day.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the numerology of the calendar at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had it as so the marker of this day for us was my friend told me 369 day. Um but the marker for us is we had it down as sunshine day. And sunshine day again comes back to the same thing I'm talking about is the sun is a marker. So sun is ones. It's the him and the hers and it's the ones shine. So it's the soul shine. The word suffering The word suffering means it has many layers like the stars, but the few of the versions are to all low to cure. So all low to a cure means um, the galactic new alien uh, tar or plasma comes down on us. We low it, We cure it in our bodies, like ferment it, and it's to the spirit and the soul of us. It's the two.
Hmm.
And so this word suffering, um, like you said, you could take it this side of suffering on the pendulum swing, or you could understand it over here as a process. And so once you understand the language and the words and how the words have even created frequency and cures in us and suffering in us, you actually then start to realize it's a game, it's a choice, it's a will.
Right.
And you can will it this way or that way.
Yeah. You can, like I said, you can live or either thrive, one of the two. The
It's
other,
exactly, yeah,
yeah,
exactly what
and,
you said. Yeah.
yeah, and also when you if you didn't know suffering, you wouldn't know goodness or kindness or feeling good, your
Mm.
body and everything. You wouldn't know that, and if you didn't know love, uh, you wouldn't know love unless you had hate shown to you and misery shown to you. Then you understand love better. It's you have to know the opposite of each feeling that we have in order to really know what it's all about. It's like suffering and pain, and then being able to live well and feel good is two different things. And we choose our paths. Do you think, Elsa, that our destinies, the divine energy, the I guess what I call the source of our souls and everything, do you think that each one of us are on a destiny, but can we change that destiny, Elsa?
Oh, can we?
It's like a path, like a path breaks off into two turns, and if you take the wrong turn, then you might just live a so-so life. If you take the right turn, then you'll live a thriving life. Uh, do we have that choice? They say we do have freedom of choice. I mean, in biblical terms and religious terms, you have freedom.
Well, we are, yeah, we are crates of tar, so creation. So creation um, isn't fussed whether we go one way or the other. She's just hoping that you do the fullest version of you for then. And what's been happening in the last few decades is that we've had others in us, other ancient alien DNA in us,
Mhm.
and they absorb our senses. And um, this word borrowed time is, I'm going to give it a different spin. This week, I realized borrowed time is not borrowed time, it's borrowed sense. And they're in our sides. So they're inside us, in our side. So if you think of in your sides, the first thing I do is put my hands on my hips. And this is where the majority of them live. And they interfere with your gut feeling, your will, and they take over the host. And you've talked about this before. You've talked about people best being on default.
Mhm.
The reason they're on default is because the other guys are running them.
Yeah, I they're
They've
in,
taken over their
yeah,
senses. Yeah.
they're invisible and they run in frequencies and light, but light is frequency. But how do we, like they say, good and evil, and if you have like something in you, a negative energy or a power, how do you get rid of it, Elsa? How do you get rid of these ETs maybe possessing our bodies in a silent way or an invisible way?
Well, even Trump has talked, he's dropped tweets. Kofifi was one that I did 2 years ago, and it was about silent sense. And to the silent sense is the secret ones in us. And they have literally curated history to have the outcome for them. Now, yes, you can say they're evil. Yes, you can say they're the bad guy, but in their version of themselves, because they're part of creation as well, they can only live in hosts.
Mm,
They have no form otherwise. And they they idolize us. That's why they came into us. Something happened in 2017 and they left on Cassini space probe. And then they left the remains here. And this is when we noticed a lot of political things change.
right.
A lot was triggered from one of the Bush's funerals. Yeah, that was a big turning point. Um,
So you think you're saying that it's kind of a reset, the whoever is in charge of us, like I call it, the source is in charge of our soul, but who's in charge of our physical bodies? Uh, like they're saying the Anunnaki and the aliens back thousands and thousands of years ago created us, our physical bodies, but they didn't
yeah,
create our souls. Our souls are come in from the divine. Uh,
the soul is at one. If you can, your soul comes from a meteor asteroid, and it's one tiny little speck, smaller than a speck of dust. And if and people think of this as degrading, but if you look at it come at it at a different angle and realize this single tiny speck that's smaller than dust is the creation of you, how powerful that is. It's created the whole of you, and
mhm,
you have to come back into you, come back to your senses.
right,
And the borrowed ones, the borrowed sense, um, we got words long ago that the human race is running out of time. And everyone used to think this was like the apocalypse, but the human race is running out of time. It has run it. This is the last, it's running out of time because time was a program. But the way we've interpreted it with the language that they gave us, we think it's the end. So it puts us into stress, which puts us into them having power over us. Because when we're in stress, they can run our ship better. Whereas when you're not in stress, when you're in play, when you feel young, when you are in thrive,
right.
they can't stick onto us inside the ancient alien DNA. They can't, because we're vibrating differently. They need us to vibrate low. This is why we have plane spray. This is why we have EMF. This is why we have bad food. This is why we have sugar and starch. It keeps going.
Yes, it's a plan to burn us out. I guess. Have you heard, Elsa?
It's planet,
Yeah,
Plan ET.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's a good one. Have you heard that NASA said that there's a a giant armada coming our way of ETs, I guess ships or whatever coming our way, and they'll be here 6 months. And there's word. This is probably all rumors and stuff that's coming from the internet, but some of this makes sense to me. They said even the Pentagon is a little concerned about this. Is it the Anunnaki coming back to take over the planet? Do you think, Elsa?
uh, I've had very similar feelings of this. The fleets are coming, but it's not the fleet of how um, uh, the curators have told us. It's the fleets of us. It's the energy of us coming, and it's the markers, and it's people like yourself who see things that the person next to them does not see.
Yeah.
By you being this person and this marker, it's impossible for no one to not have a reaction from what you're doing. So, somewhere, even if it's the other entity that you've encountered, will have reactions. And this is why now you've been so I'm bringing this back into our day-to-day life, Dave, because
Right.
I need to do this to keep myself sane.
Yeah.
You said that you're having a few really new expansions and you don't know where it's going to go, but you're open to it.
Right.
And you've had you've got your books already. So you've got all these things happening. The reason that it's expanding more is because the others are ready. The other markers are ready. Their, their, their souls are calling out. And so now it's like openings of portholes ready for the new Dave experience to come through and the new versions of Elsa's experiences to come through. They're ready for the information. And you're brave enough to ring true.
Hmm. Yeah. I
You're
had a
sharing your personal, you're sharing you. You're not sharing some think you've been fed. You're sharing marks that you've had in your life. You're not sharing marks from other people's lives. You're sharing marks from your life.
right, and
It's very
hopefully,
brave.
you know, yeah, and hopefully people will believe them, and because I am telling the truth. I just put a video on. You might have seen it. It was about the contact I made in 2010 in Sedona with this Japanese lady, and I had her on the video, and she's on my face page, and she's the one I met and came to my door 5 months later with two other young Asian guys, about 15, 16. And they dumbed my cousin and I down. And that's why I know she stayed down the road, turned her face where I couldn't see her face, but she had the same clothes on that she had on in Sedona in 2010. So,
Wow.
I knew it was her. And my cousin, he about he about went crazy. He couldn't understand being dumbed down because all you do is you can't talk, you can't move. All you can do is watch. You can use your eyes, and that's it. Uh, I was familiar with that because it happened a couple of times before that incident. But that's why a lot of people say, well, there's nothing being shown in this video. I said no. That's just the first half. The second
Yeah.
half, I put in a narration where she come to my house in Illinois, and she didn't know where I lived. How did she find out where I lived? By frequencies. She knew my frequencies, and that's how she found me. And
So you're a marker. This is what I'm saying. You're a
yeah,
marker because they're tapping into frequency.
hmm,
So see, so they've arced in you. So then it's like a tracer.
yeah,
Yeah. And so they can call in on it. So rather than thinking of it as a negative entity, they're trying to find themselves through you. And yeah,
yeah. She
it's exactly,
repeatedly, yeah, she repeatedly said she liked me. She
oh,
repeatedly said we were supposed to meet, and that's the name of my fourth book. I named the book after what she told me. We were supposed to meet, and I said, I don't know you. Do you know me? She goes, yes, I know you. And I said, oh my God, then I'm dealing with something here I'm not really sure about. So I spent the evening talking to her, but I did learn a few things. She didn't let out too much to me, but I did learn something. She I asked her how old she was. That was a no-no. I know you don't ask any woman how old they are, but
oh,
I asked her because I said, are you an angel or something? She goes, no. She goes, and I said, how old are you? And she looked at me and her eyes were piercing so much that I had to turn my head away. I felt it burning the back of my head. And then she said, when are you humans going to understand there is no time, there is no age? And then she stopped and she knew she did something wrong. To us, that's a Freudian slip, as we call it as humans. As an ET, I don't know what they call it, that messing up, I guess. But that was a secret line she gave me, and I learned that there is no time, there is no age. And you were saying that we skip on frequencies across other dimensions and things of that nature. And I really think that's what happens. We leave here, go to another dimension, and it all depends on how much spiritual currency. I call spiritual currency the things that you've done in life that makes the creator, the source, happy with what you've done while you've been here. This is a test, like you're saying, Elsa. This is kind of a test for us humans to live through those four different cycles: birth, live, thrive, suffer, die. those are the cycles we live through. And we have to make the best out of the living and thriving cycle in order to get those spiritual points to get to a higher dimension. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just my thought, the basic thought. I'm not an expert. Nobody's an expert really, except some of us find out things before others do, or others don't find out the same thing you do. Like you said, certain people can see things, and I do see things through my third eye, and I know you do, and I know your family. Now, Elsa, you've been visited, your whole family's been visited by extraterrestrials and dimensional beings. Can you tell us some of the things you learned from them? Just like I told you what I learned from this one ET hybrid. Could you tell us what your family and you have learned from those encounters, Elsa?
One of the ones we learnt was that we uh, all have forms of reptilian in us. I'm bringing this up because this has been such a scary word for everyone. Um, we were shown through a reptilian being. Um, they took us through how much percentage was in each family member, and this was like their fair trade with us. They gave us this information. They also actually told us this how much reptilian was in a few people that are in our day-to-day life, how what the percentage was in them, just to give us an understanding of how we're all different.
Mhm.
We're all different layers within ourselves, and not to be afraid all the time. This being continually being in fear just shuts you up. It just shuts everything off. And this was another. So there's that information from that being, and then uh, other information was given that if you are in a state of fear, it changes your endorphins
Hmm.
and your atoms, and you cannot read information correct.
Right.
Yeah. Other beings have shown me that it's in the sugars and the starch, and this is how they've controlled us with sugar. And they talk of vampires, another scary word. They come out at night. They come out when your glucose, fructose levels are at their highest, which is between 1 and 3 a.m. This is when they come out and they feed on us, inside us.
What about do they I sometimes some mornings I wake up and
Hmm.
I know I got I knew I slept, but I really feel tired and wore out certain mornings. Do you think that could be like night visitors who just draw your energy from you? They can
Yeah,
just take your
yeah.
frequency and energy from you, and then
Well, people
yeah.
Well, people speak of their dreams and they feel like this is another thing. A lot of the time I would wake up and Richard would say, well, how are you going? I said, oh, I was in one of those missions again. All these dreams feel like missions.
Yeah.
And what that is the ones inside, all they have is numbers and cents. This is their thing.
Hmm.
Numbers and cents, which is pretty much what society's been doing. Money, cents, and numbers, right? More and more and more and more and more and more.
Right.
Anyway, so this is the thing that they love is numbers and cents. So they're inside us and they are placing uh, um, visuals in us in our dreams
Mhm.
because they can. This is when they come into being the the powerful ones because we are in a shutdown. We're in that phase where we've turned off for a bit. We rest.
When you get symbols and signs, they the angels they talk about angels like leaving feathers. I've had
Hmm.
several feathers left, and I've kept a couple of them. Lost one on how, but those were feathers laid at my feet from my brother's funeral and from other people that that passed away. But I've also had apports, little plastic disc, and put in my pocket, laying in the floor in front of me. And I even got one in Alaska, and I live in Illinois, and I went to Alaska for a couple of years. I got one up there, so they follow you.
Wow.
Where I think what they're telling you, like you called certain people markers. I think what they do is they let you know they're around, and they're still with you, they're still watching you. And is that to develop fear in us, or is that to calm us and say, we're with you, we're watching you, we're watching over you? Is this an angelic thing, or is the ET thing, the reptilian thing, is probably to put fear in us because they're showing it like they mess with my cars. I've had both cars messed with. Yeah. And they're letting
Both
me know.
cars.
Yeah, duh, both cars. And I just talked to the service guy yesterday. I'll tell the story real quick, but uh, they follow you around and they do things to let you know they're there. All right, I have an older Cadillac Escalade, and I've had trouble with it. It just the lights and everything. The car went crazy one night back in December, and it just the lights were on and the speedometer needle was going crazy, and lights were flashing. And something told me go ahead and drive the car, and I said, "What? That's crazy." So I drove the car. 10 minutes later, the car was okay. Well, it also developed a problem where when I started the car, I put it in gear, it wouldn't go nowhere. Drive gear wouldn't work, reverse gear wouldn't work. And I checked the gears and I checked there's no brake on. And I said, "What's going on?" I turned the car off and then I turned it back on and the engine light went off and I was able to drive the car. That's happened twice. They locked up that Cadillac. Now I got a new Honda and it's done it to the new Honda 3 times. The brake, it automatically brakes and it's not supposed to do that. I talked to a dealer yesterday and they said that shouldn't do that. You got to put your foot on the pedal and then you got to lift the lever on the console up in order to engage that brake. And it's got to be a physical movement. And he said, no, it shouldn't come on automatically. And it has. And before my wife's eyes yesterday, it come on. And I told us to see, it's on where it's watching us or something's telling us that they're doing this to. And this a dealer, he said, well, it probably intermittent. He said, bring it in, we need to check it. He said, because it shouldn't do that unless it's going downhill or going uphill. And I said, well, it happened to my Cadillac too. And I said, they checked it thoroughly with a computer. Nothing was wrong with it. Nothing then, nothing at the present time, and nothing in the future is on that computer. They looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, it does do that. It's doing it. And they said, well, the computer says everything's fine. And this dealer, I told him that, and he goes, well, that's a little strange. And I said, yes, I don't know. I think that's what they're letting me know. They're letting me know they're around. But are they doing these things? My question: are they doing these things to keep fear in you that they're watching you and you shouldn't make certain moves? Or are they doing this to let you know, okay, everything's fine, we're helping you along in your life? What is it, Elsa? What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's so then you go, okay, well, which way are you going to choose it to be?
Yeah.
And that's the power of us. So you speak of break. I just had a break incident where it, the kids think I'm an absolute nutter. I was we were going to the other farm and I shook the rug in the bus and then I had my gum boots on, my big boots.
Mm-hmm.
And we were driving, and then as I was pressing the accelerator, the brake would come on, and then all these warning lights. And it's never happened before, and power of the vehicle would slow down.
Yeah.
This went on for a while. We stopped the trip and turned around and came home because it was becoming dangerous. And I got home and I got out the vehicle, and everyone came over and said, "What is that smell?" And I had burnt the brakes.
Really?
And so now I'm getting your break message and my break message. So I'm going to run with this because we've come together as markers. Markers are beacons, okay? So you carry the light. So you've had a break incident and I've had a break incident. Mine was through foolishness, but it doesn't matter. It still happened. I had shaken the carpet of the bus and it had gone over the accelerator and the brake. So every time I press the accelerator, it was pushing the brake. So
Oh
it was
my
completely
goodness.
my fault.
Oh,
Richard's like, great, because you've just burnt the brakes out. This is going to cost a bit to fix. But it's not something that would normally happen, as is with your car. Now you've had two cars,
two cars
separate
did
cars.
do the
Yeah, so
same
the
thing.
brake.
Yeah.
I'm taking this is it's a break. It's a rest, it's a break, it's a opening a crustacean. It's an opening of new energy. It's a Ka, if you look at the word Ka that goes through many religions, it's the magic of us.
Mm.
And I'm taking this break is, like you said, it's a break. The fleets can come through now. Like this is what message I'm getting. I'm actually got a really good feeling from this, Dave. I'm really
Oh,
glad that you shared this story with me
oh, it's
because
happening. It's
because
ongoing.
I was wondering why has this happened to me? I feel so stupid. I've wrecked the car a bit. Um, because it paused me in a place. It stopped me from going somewhere, as your cars did. But then there was nothing wrong. Like the car still continues, right? It's just something that's happened for you to notice and me to notice. And then the two markers come together and then you align. And then now you go forth further.
Hmm.
It's a good message. And people go, that's ridiculous. That's got nothing to do with what's going on with politics. That's got nothing to do with anything. And I disagree because I have seen how these marks in us keep going and going and going and keep happening and happening and happening. And if you listen to them, they will guide you. It's steering us. They're like rails. These are the angels in us. But if you want to take it the wrong way and you want it to be a problem, you have that choice.
Yeah. I don't have no fear of it. I get fearful when it happens. It's just like during an abduction or seeing an ET. I'm fearful at first, but then all of a sudden it comes to me that I want to investigate more. I want to find out more.
Yeah,
I'm like a cat. I'm very curious. But I'm not a cat that's going to fight a cobra like I see on the internet all the time. That's scary. I don't
yeah.
like that.
Mm.
But no, I really think that we get messages. They say it's messages from angels or from God or from the source, uh, and I think we're getting messages from ETs, and they have complete control of human society and frequencies. They can turn us on or off, reset. That's why we talk about the reset. Somebody's doing that. I don't think it's coming from the source. It's probably coming from, and you said something earlier that the ETs own us or they made us, and that's what you're thinking, Elsa.
Well, we are ETs. All of us are ETs. We are all star seeds that have landed here, and then we just lay it up.
Hmm.
And the lineage of us, um, they're going to find out about these ancient civilizations well before anything they have in the history that they've shared with us is almost now comical
Yeah,
to me. It's
yeah.
absolutely, it is comical because of the information I'm finding and hearing through other markers is that it goes way, way before this. And I'm not worried about one type of ET because I know there's so many. There's so many.
Yeah,
There's not one.
yeah.
And there's not one that's running us. Even inside us, there wasn't one running us. There's like 700,000 versions, apparently. I don't even know how they counted it.
Hmm.
Um, I know there's the big guns in there. And once now everyone takes hold of their bodies, which they all seem to be doing, like 2 years, I think it was 2022, I come out and talk about parasites and ancient alien DNA, and I'm classed as an absolute nutter. And now you go on the internet and everyone's talking about it, and it's great because they're taking care of their own bodies and they're seeing destruction in their bodies that's unnecessary. And all they have to do is instead of buying this product, buy that one. That's it, a choice.
Hmm. Yeah.
Instead of doing this, they go for a walk with their dog.
Yeah.
They instead, like you said before you came on, you you make allowances to assist someone that's in a space where they're not all mentally sound. and you make allowances for time because they don't understand time anymore. So you're not making them forced into a box, you're giving them freedom.
Yeah.
And so by you making this choice in your life, you assist the other person that you're going to see because they get to see you and enjoy you, and you assist, and you're in a kindness. And this is what humans are. Humans are kind. This is why they call us mankind, humankind.
Hmm. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
coming back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, we are supposed to be kind, but right now, I don't know what, if it's the sunspots doing this to people, but we have so many irrational ideas going on right now. I mean, they're trying to change everything about us. One certain ideology, one certain party, trying to make so many drastic changes that now the other side's resisting, and actually the other side's kind of winning at not wanting to, make such changes in our whole human development. It's just crazy, some of the ideas that some of our government officials come out with, and we shouldn't tolerate it. I mean, it doesn't
Well, you
matter
got to
what
work,
side.
but you have to understand all those systems you're talking about have to shut down, literally.
Mm.
Now, to shut them down is not going to be an easy process because they've been running the show for so long, which we've allowed them.
Right.
And by our will, we've allowed them to do this. So then it takes the brave ones, the beakers, the markers, to step forward. And so they keep watching people like yourself. And how are you lifting the community? How are you easing the community? And the more and more of markers trigger other markers, alignments, raise the frequency. You hear this all the time. I speak of the super intelligence organism. Once we raise all this in us, then more can shut down, more disclosure happens.
Mhm.
And I mean, you've seen just recently in the news how much they've sort of bombarded everyone with.
Yeah. And we're not getting
Yeah.
disclosure. I know you mentioned disclosure last time we was on the show. We talked about it. We're not getting disclosure, even though there's certain words that slip out of, like, the Pentagon.
Mm.
The Pentagon says they don't know what to do with these drones, the drones that we had in New York and New Jersey and all over the world. And some of them were still flying around over military bases, and which is a no-no. But these drones, they're saying, are FAA approved and they're okay. But then we're hearing some more. We just heard from a governor a couple of weeks ago, I think it was in New Jersey, who said he demanded the federal government do something about these drones flying over military bases in New Jersey because they don't know what to do with them. And the military and the Pentagon's afraid. They made a comment saying that we don't know what to do with these drones. They can't bring them down.
Mm.
They have these frequency guns that they use to bring down drones. They can do our commercial drones like that and bring them down. But these drones, I guess one guy said, okay, I had a guest on who said that, and he's pretty sharp about this. He said half of them were our drones, commercial drones, military drones. They were up there flying. And he said they did that for a cover because the other half, the other drones, are real extraterrestrial drones. And so they put those up to as a smokescreen to cover up the real idea that these other drones are ours too. But that's not true. And the government's not disclosing anything about extraterrestrials or anything like that, even though people are still seeing UFOs out west and everywhere. You see videos sometimes of, well, some half of them you can't believe because they're CGI or whatever, but they're still around us. They're still,
Yeah.
and what are they trying to tell us from a distance? They're waving at us like a new neighbor across the street. They wave, and then the next week or so, you get to talk to them. Uh, so, what are they trying to tell us, Elsa?
We get the seekers, so we find them, they're seeking, they're checking into, like you said, this lady was checking your frequency. How did she have the same clothes on in a time space? And also, how did she know where you lived? So they're seekers, so they're looking for the markers and the beacons in the ones that walking here now.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about this in videos with Mary. That some of them call them handlers.
Yes. Hmm.
Mm. And um, okay, I'm going to tell you a spooky one. So
Okay.
the car accident that we had here on this road, um, it wasn't of us, it wasn't our family member, it was a couple, and we heard it in the middle of the night, and we went and helped these people. Anyway, they had two undercover cops turn up. They were the first people, a husband and wife, but they were weird. They were like robots. They had no feeling or emotion to the situation. They didn't help. They didn't call anyone. They just stood around. It was the weirdest thing. We filmed them because they were weird.
Yeah.
So we had them there, and then we had the all the blood and gore of the accident because we were literally our kids are holding body parts together in this accident of this young couple. Now, the weird part about it is it was the same ute, the silver car, as my son's.
Hmm.
And I felt like, I don't know, I got a weird sense. I've never said these words, but I did. You know what I'm trying to say, right? I'm
Oh.
not saying it, but it's like they thought it was our family member, but it wasn't.
Hmm.
And they came to check the handlers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
Now the
And
handler.
now this is really personal too, because I got my kids out in the middle of the night in their jammies, stopping traffic to help people that we don't know because we're humankind. And then I've got these weird undercover couple policemen here not doing anything. They're trained in that, they're trained to in these situations, but they're just standing there and our kids are running back, calling police, calling ambulances and fire trucks. Because
That's what.
this silver ute was falling down a hill too.
Mhm.
So it was a dangerous rescue.
Yeah. Now these
It was
walk.
being held by a tree.
Yeah.
And I've got my family there. I'm not saying we're saints, but I'm just saying, why isn't the trained personnel helping?
Yeah. You
And
say
why are they asking weird questions? Like you said with these other people that you met, these entities, they ask kind of different questions,
dumb questions. Uh,
weird questions,
yeah.
right?
I was talking to one in the gym. I meet several either guys or gals, and they're kind of strange. And the one guy I was telling him, he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm retired. I write books and I do podcasts." And he says, "Oh, do you read books?" And I thought, how strange.
What?
Yeah, do you read books? And I don't see them there much anymore. They come in and I think they take inventory. I got a story. I don't think I've
Hang
told
on. So
you.
what you say? They come in, they take inventory, and then you never see them again, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're
What's that about either? Like that's what this is what
and
Mary talks about. They're handlers. They come
yeah,
in and they're on the outskirts. They're not really in your life, but
yeah.
they're definitely there, right? And
Most
then
of
they
them,
go.
most of them don't even look at you. I saw an
No eye contact. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw an Asian girl in the gym, and she was about 5'7", tall, and attractive young lady, about 25, and she was on the machines. There wasn't any weights on the machines, and she just clacked them a couple of times, and I just looked at her like, is she crazy? And she never looked at me one time during the 10 minutes, and she kind of followed the line of machines I was following. So she was right in front of me basically, and I could see her all just about all the time because she was right there. And when you're working out, you see people that around you because you see movement and you look. But she never looked at me one time. That's another thing with these dimensional or watcher entities is they don't really look at you. If they're tagging you or following you, they won't look at you for some reason. I got a story to tell you. Maybe you can explain this. I talked to Steve Mera about this story. I've had last December. I drove in the back of my condo community here, and I was parking, and I looked over to my right. I saw a young girl, probably 14, 15. She had a real baggy t-shirt. T-shirt must have been a size 80 because it was like a smock. It come all the way down to her ankles, and it was so big on her. It was just like a smock or a gown. And I know she had pants on underneath that. Then she got up, she saw me coming, and I looked over her way. She had dark hair, black hair, and she took off running with a little bag. She had a bag in her hand. She took off running to the fence. And I thought, wow, who was that? Or what was that? You know, because I've been on like regress dreams, and I've been on a ship where young people wore these white smocks. That's what they wear on ships. They're like a white smock, like a big T-shirt, and that's what they wear. The young people that I was on the ship and I saw that, but she ran. But then I saw her a couple of weeks later, and I was with my wife, and she walked in front of my car, and I was waiting for my wife to come out of the shop. And she walked in front of my car. She had big baggy jeans on. She had dark hair, but she had a hoodie on. It hid most of her face and everything. And she had a backpack on, big baggy jeans. She looked out of place. I don't think she should have even been there. I don't know why she was there walking. Like if she's homeless, she shouldn't have been there. But then my wife and I took off. And we saw her down the road about a mile. She was walking towards a neighborhood in which I knew she didn't belong. And I thought, this is crazy. And my then my wife and I saw her again a couple of weeks later, a couple of blocks away from our condo. She was walking on the side of the road. My wife looked and saw, said she said she had dark hair and she had dark complexion. I said, okay. And she couldn't see her that well. But then what happened just a week or two ago, I went with my brother and two friends. We went to lunch. As we was coming out, we finished lunch. I come out, and there was a booth sitting right by the doorway where you exit. And here sat this young lady. She had a bunch of jewelry bracelets on her wrist, gold, shiny, silver, all kinds of, and she looked like she was only about 15 years old. She had dark hair, and she had something that tied her hair back. And then she looked up at me right square in my eyes. I looked at her right in her face, and she had dark eyes, dark black eyes. And she looked at me, and I thought, she's so out of place. She's only about 15 in a place by herself eating. And I'm thinking, and then I was told that this person probably is time jumping, is coming back and forth in time. Do you think that, Elsa?
Yeah, because they got weird clothes on and they misfit, and it's not so. A lot of people that jump realms don't always jump in their age either. So, because you can't, it's like just say I jumped, right? I'm going to say the word jump. So I jump realms. How you present in the other realm isn't always how you present here
Right.
because it's sense. So sometimes you might present as an orb, sometimes you might present as a mist or just a echo, a voice, a smell. Some people, but you might present as a child, or it's just how your frequency turns up there. But see, we've been watching movies like Doctor Who and Star Trek, so you
Yeah.
just think you turn up like this.
Hmm.
But what I'm getting multiple times by hearing you say these stories is it's a misfit.
Yeah.
They're misfits,
Or could it
and
be my hybrid
they're mis.
child? Could it be my hybrid child that happened back in 2010, and that baby's hand that was in my hand during the abduction?
Well, they
Could
could
she be?
be
Yeah.
ahead as
Yeah.
well, like not from before, but from before. Before and before is the
Yeah.
same word.
Time is so
But
confusing.
before and before is the. This is one of the big words I got this week. Before and before is the same. This is um. So this misfits that you're seeing. Uh, if some of the one that made eye contact with you probably was one from past, but the ones that don't make eye contact are from ahead.
Hmm.
And there's something about making eye contact that they can't do with you. It's like a no-no. You know how you said it's a no-no?
Yeah, yeah,
There's certain things that they're not because it creates too many shutters over too many realms.
right. Dr.
And
David
what
Jacobs, who wrote a book, he said they walk amongst us, and he didn't say anything about time travelers, but I think he did. It is mentioned in his book, but he told me during a convention. I told him about the story about the my abduction. He laughed, and then I said, "Why are you laughing, Doctor Jacobs?" He says because you got it wrong. He said most abductees or contactees have it wrong. He said what you're telling me when you were shocked and electrocuted, he said your abduction was over. He said that's when they brought you back. He said so when you think that's when it started, that's not true. He said it's just reverse. It's when it's when you're brought back is what you remember mostly instead of being abducted because they knock you out real quick and you're gone. So
so
that's
it
that's
comes back
strange.
to so a time traveler
Yeah.
is the word time is a sense traveler.
Hmm.
So it's the essence. So sense is essence. So it's the energy of them coming through into where you're playing the marker now. See, if you weren't a marker or a beacon, they wouldn't be able to find you. This is why people have, this is what I said to you. I want to talk to you about tells,
Hmm.
TELL, obsoletes, monuments, markers, icons, beacons. This is why they have crop circles. This is why they have churches.
Hmm.
They have altars. You have a lot of people have Buddha altars in their homes. They have this is why they have cemeteries.
Hmm.
They they this is why people leave things on the freeway where someone's passed. They leave a marker. Now, what that does is it creates an anchor. And this is why a lot of people say they have ghosts at that spot because they're anchored there. We've found spots on the road where there's an anchor where they've had multiple ghost encounters. They'll also have multiple accidents at that location. We, our family member, something in us told us to go and be kind to the beings at these locations. We go and do a little grounding or say a few nice words, and then we just go on our way, like, on our day-to-day shop or something. No more accidents are at this location where they've had all the ghost encounters
Hmm.
because you've released them. And this is what you were talking about before with where the markers are breaking. We're breaking the rules. We're breaking the way that we thought energy was. We're breaking the way we think. We're in free fall. Yes, it feels foreign. It feels alien, but we have the tools to do this. We don't know how we have the tools. We don't understand or remember the tools, but we just have them in us.
Hmm.
And people are noticing in this in you, Dave, and they're saying, come and help us do it here. Come and help us do it here. And this is this come and help us do it here to me is disclosure.
Yeah, that's
It's not coming through the government, it's coming through people like yourself.
right. And that's what I tell people. I said, I like getting people on who tell their stories for the first time, their encounters and their abduction and their contactee roles, what's going on. I'd like for people to come on. I talk to people a lot of times and they're scared. They're scared of their family, what their family may
Mm.
think, or what their friends may think, or what their job may think. We're bound by these walls, I guess some people are, but I'm not. I come out and say it. I say this. I can tell you the same stories over and over and over for years and not miss a detail. And that's when you're not lying. If you're lying, your details will change. Things will change. Uh, I'm just thinking about what when you want to be grounded. They say just go out and step on the ground with your bare feet. Is that the best way, Elsa, to be grounded? To just go out and step on bare ground, or is there other ways to be grounded and get rid of the negative energy that you have compiled?
Well, the word to be grounded means to allow. So if you're too controlling, then you're not really in allowing. But the best way to ground yourself is put your feet in water or drink water, have salt, oil, ground, literally on the ground, sit on the ground,
Hmm.
touch a tree, be still. A lot of channelers talk about just 17 minutes in the sun. Yeah, just be still.
Hmm.
And if you hear the noise chatter in your head, which you will, because we all do, it's usually the other guys.
Yeah.
And they're not, yes, they're the bad guy. Okay, they're the bad guy. We're going to blame them. But they also have curated us to this point. They just don't serve us any longer. And this is what's happening now. They're leaving us through inflammation, through mucus. They're coming up out of us through detoxing, you know, and they don't serve us any longer. And they can't even they can't actually handle the solar flares coming. See, our star seed can, but they can't. So they're having pain and discomfort in us. So if you keep them in you, anchored in you, you will have inflammation, pain, and discomfort. If you let them go and be the true star seed that you are, then it will become ease and grace for you. And this is what you're noticing in people. You're saying you're seeing them and they feel younger, they seem happier.
Hmm.
You know, I look at you, you feel happy. I meet other people, they feel happy, they feel lighter. They're not in, they haven't got all the money in the world, they haven't got all this, but they just seem more youthful. They feel more whole.
Yeah, I think there's a secret to that. Of being older, you have to keep your mind working. You have to keep thinking. You have to keep having goals and purpose every
Yeah.
day. And I'm doing this by trying to enlighten people with what I do. And I'm not being paid for this. You know, you don't make a lot of money on UFO books either. So, you know,
Mm.
people have to understand that what we're doing, most of us that are doing this free gratis, we're trying to enlighten people and tell people what our stories are, and so they, if they're familiar with them, and that's why I invite, you know, experiencers on my show to tell their stories, to get this out and disclose, because I think it's going to be us, like you said, that's going
Mhm.
to disclose, because the government are, there's something wrong here, that they're afraid
Ah,
to
yeah.
disclose. There's something just really dreadfully wrong. And Louis
It
Alessandro,
just feels wrong, right?
yeah,
It just has a weird frequency to it that they're
yeah,
not getting it done and they
yeah,
keep stalling.
yes,
Why?
yes.
Because um uh that it's exactly like what you said. It just doesn't feel right. And so the fact that you're doing this unconditionally. You're not doing this with a condition. You're doing this unconditionally because it's in you. It's a thrive. It's a passion. It's a drive in you. It's your will. And that's what's ringing true to all the others because that's your true sense. And uh, you just trust that it will work out.
Mm. Okay, we,
See,
you know, Louis Alessandro, he was one of he was supposed to have the disclosure. Well, he works for Space Force, and there's been other people who he's asked to work with him, and they refused. So actually, some of these people are playing both sides of the coin. The government, you know, disinformation, and then the disclosure, trying to stop the disclosure. They're playing these games with us, and that's what's happening. I want to ask you, with everything that goes on, we, you know, we've got this cancel culture, and which is really bad. I didn't never did like it. You know, if you do something wrong, then you can lose your job, lose your family, just by saying one little word out of place, and it's pretty terrible. You know, and even the comedians are coming out and saying, "Look, I can't even joke around anymore. I'm afraid I might lose everything." You know, so it's, we can't live that way. We have to let everybody, you know, talk, and we have to let everybody, you know, vet their opinions, and let people know how they feel and how they think, because if we don't share these feelings amongst each other, we're not ever going to have disclosure on human beings as a whole, or our history as a whole, or the ETs as a whole. Let me tell you, with the sun flares happening, they're talking about a lot of sun action. They're talking about these ETs coming here, and then we have all this negativity here on Earth. Elsa, I'm packing this all up in one package here. If it's for you to answer. So all this going on and wars and rumors of war, that's always going to go on. What's going to happen to us, Elsa? What's going to happen to this human race, and how long might this happen? That might things may come to an end, either for the better or for the worse. What's your opinion, Elsa?
Well, it's impossible because how can creation come to an end? And this is I love creation. I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love that you and I broke through the box today with our brakes in our cars, and you, your Marcus, your beacon, your light of Dave has now ignited in me and confirmed in me that I'm on path. So I keep going another day. And, some days I don't have enough energy for 100 years or 10 years or next 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've only got energy enough for 5 minutes, but you have what you need for that moment. And then you ground and then you go on to the next moment and you stop living too far ahead or too far behind and you stay on path, on your compass
Mm-hmm.
and follow the signs of you, not others, you.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the signs of you and be brave and be kind and make eye contact. And if they don't want to make eye contact with you, they're not ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, not Dave, but I mean, they're not ready for you. Don't force people, give other people space because they're trying to find their essence of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And by us being examples, and we're saying, we're not being paid by Hollywood to do this. We're coming out. This is not our professions. We're coming out of our shells to shine for you guys so that you can shine for yourselves. Not so that we shine for you, be for you to shine for yourselves. So you carry the Marcus of
Mm-hmm.
you forward.
Right.
And so we become our kings,
Mm-hmm.
arcs.
Oh,
We kings are.
yeah,
So I
I
hope I narrowed it down
yeah,
into a box.
yeah, I noticed you're getting into the definition of the wording, and I think that's pretty much on. I mean, I guess the words are invented or created for some reason. Why we say them in the English language and any language, Hebrew or whatever. But words do have meanings and they have frequencies, and what we say and what we do. We're coming to an end to the show, Elsa, and it went very fast. I usually go about an hour and 15 minutes. I don't like going any further.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours is kind of long, for people
Mm.
if they can tune in and out for an hour or whatever. But could you tell us, Elsa Dillon, where can we find some of your works and your insights on the internet?
Well, we have spinbeings.com. That's our website, and that sort of lists all the interviews we've done, and you can just click on the image and it'll take you to the interviews direct to people like Dave's show. We also have a channel on Sheila Seppi with Conscious Awakening Network, Ascension TV, and that's called Spin Beings channel on there, and that's going to have more deeper conversations that aren't possibly able to be on YouTube and things like this. So that's how you see that stuff is through Sheila
So
Seppi's channel. Yeah.
Spin Beings channel. Is there any other words to that?
Well, it's Conscious Awakening
Okay.
Network.org. And yeah, Sheila Seppi's put this all together. She's lovely. We also have uh, one-on-one sessions that we do. And I have just started doing where we meet with 10 people. And so if anyone's interested, there's only 10 people that come to a Zoom group and we sort of have a more private sort of gathering like you and I are doing now, but it's not recorded and we work through a topic together that, affects all of them in the group.
Okay. All
And
right.
we've had
I
some
will,
great outcomes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will put that in narrative. Those two, uh, conscious awakening network.org and Spinbeings channel. I'll put that in the narrative so people know where to find you.
Thank you,
Uh,
Dave.
you've
Thank you
been
for
with,
having me.
yeah, thank you so much. Elsa Dillon, thank you so much for being on the show again. And you've been a repeat guest, and people like you. So that's the way it's supposed to be. So you've been listening to The Strange Reality with Dave Emmons and my guest Elsa Dillon, and we're just signing off right now and saying bye and thank you for tuning in. And we hope that you enjoy the show. Thank you. Good night, everybody.